Hello and welcome back. My name's Jeff Barkman and I talk about things. This is episode 2 of my community series. I'm very good at talking about things. Today we're going to talk about authenticity versus fantasy. Authenticity is one of the key pillars of community. You can't have true connection without authenticity. To be able to be authentic, you actually need to be able to see yourself clearly. I think a lot of people think that authenticity is just kind of like barfing your truth out or barfing what your experience, your perception is. And I think that to really have a strong partnership with authenticity, you need to be able to understand the concept that we are not experiencing ultimate reality ever. Um, there's one being in the universe who experiences ultimate reality, and his name is God. um, the only human that actually perceived reality was Jesus. Um, and you even have like Paul, who's one of the big heroes of the Christian faith, talks about seeing through a glass darkly. And I think that one of the ways that I like to talk about the concept of perception versus reality is that reality is like this vast ocean, and perception is like the boat that we use to traverse the ocean. Um, and so you can't really get into authenticity without this first understanding that my perception is just my perception, and it feeds me really relevant information. But that information it's feeding me is not ultimate reality. It's my perception. It's the information that I have, and so what that revelation kind of prepares you for is the real core power of authenticity, which is being able to see the truth about yourself. The reason that I've called this episode authenticity versus fantasy is because it's authenticity is the fantasy is the counterfeit of authenticity. Authenticity shows you what's true about yourself, and when authenticity is partnered with truth, then you'll see that what God says about you is actually the truth about who you are. And so authenticity will actually pair with truth, and it will reveal to you who God says you are. Whereas fantasy is usually the result of coping mechanisms that we need to survive from childhood trauma or all sorts of different situations that arise in life. And what fantasy does is it kind of takes your self-image, and if you think about the concept that we're finite beings, that means that we have limitations, and that means that God created us with limitations on purpose. And knowing what those limitations are is really useful information. And our emotions are one of the tools that actually help us know what our limitations are. Our emotions help us know when we feel violated by something. But what fantasy will do is it'll take the whole picture, the whole concept of what you are, your limitations, the boundaries of what you are, and it'll just skew it a little bit so that you'll think that you have the capacity to do something that you won't. And if you find yourself getting upset and not knowing why, or having really disproportionate reactions to certain things and you don't really understand why, then it might be a little situation there with fantasy versus authenticity. Um, so what do we do? The thing with authenticity is it's usually a process, because it's like, for if you're a parent, it would be like, we how can let me rephrase this. I'm trying to say too much too quickly. Um, Authenticity is a process. There are certain things in the heaven realm that can just be poured out, like dispensations, like healing, like pow. Sometimes healing just happens like pow. Courage, joy, innocence, all these things can just be like pow. There you go, you got it. It's a dispensation. But authenticity is something that needs to be built within you, and it's built within you through relationship to Holy Spirit. And it's built within you through Holy Spirit telling you the truth about yourself. And often you have to ask questions to find out what's true, because your perception isn't telling you what's true, but Holy Spirit will tell you what's true. And that can actually, when that gets internalized, then you can live from that true identity, and you'll perceive the world in a different way. So your perception actually will follow truth. Um, Not the best answer for those of you who are wanting to just be done with it and have it be tomorrow. But if you think about it, like a parent would be super. If a parent went to bed and their 3 month old baby suddenly was 30 years old the next day, the parent would feel robbed. Um, and that is because part of love wants to walk through that whole process with us. And so God isn't going to sacrifice relationship for your character, if that makes sense. Like he's not going to relinquish his ability and desire to relate to you in order to make your life easier, or even to like make you more powerful or anything like that. Like he really really values relationship above all, I think. um so speaking about relationship, I promised that I would talk a bit about relationship with yourself in this video. And I think that any relationship requires certain things. And I think that relationship with yourself, again, is a process, and it requires trust, and it requires forgiveness, and it requires love. And you can take action in each of those areas to actually build your relationship with yourself and to build more trust with yourself. Because the reason trust is actually more important than love in your relationship with yourself is because if you don't trust yourself, then say you're making declarations to change your self-talk, but when I make the declaration, uh, I'm beautiful, I won't believe it because I don't trust myself, because I've got a history with myself of breaking my word, if that makes sense. So the path forward, the first path forward into establishing love for yourself is actually to establish trust for yourself. And so you set yourself up for little wins, just really simple, easy things that you can say you're going to do and then do them. And then shift your focus to the places where you are keeping your word. And as you focus on the places that you are keeping your word, you'll start to build momentum of trust. And as you build trust for yourself, then you can start going into your relationship with yourself. Ask Holy Spirit to take you through all the places where you've betrayed your own heart, where you've betrayed your own trust, and go into those places. Picture yourself the youngest that you possibly can. For me, it's 4-year-old Jeff. And talk to the 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old version of yourself, and say, hey, self, 4-year-old Jeff, I'm so sorry for all the times that I told you that your belly is too fat and that's why no one will love you. I should never have said those things. I was wrong and I'm really sorry. Can you forgive me? And I guarantee that that part of you is still alive, because 4-year-old you is still you. And you'll be able to come through that forgiveness process, and it'll reestablish relationship with yourself. Um, One of the things to mention is that when people start to love themselves well, they often find out that their friends suck. Why? Because you've built friends bonding over stupid things, um, and your boundaries, because you thought that you weren't worth loving and you thought that you weren't worth being treated well. Your boundaries were all out of whack, and so your friends that you have are used to treating you poorly because that's what you tolerate, and it's kind of what you like actually, or it's what you used to like. Um, So a lot of times you have to look at your sort of spheres of influence and think about, who needs to be moved out to a further out sphere of influence. Um, yeah, and that's just a process in and of itself. Another thing that's important is as you start to step into this lifestyle of authenticity, you're going to find out that you have needs. And we all do. A lot of people really like not having needs, and usually that is a symptom of um, poor self-love, if that makes sense. Um, Important things to know about needs: not everyone's going to meet your needs, and not every need that you express well is going to get met. That's just part of being an adult. But when you're looking for new friends, when you're looking for friends, first of all, you find people that are trustworthy, and you start asking them for very low level needs, like If you're going to school with someone, maybe you can sit next to them, or if you go to church with someone, maybe you ask them if you can sit with them that day. That would be like a very low level need, and you're giving them the opportunity to meet one of your needs. And actually, most relational equity is obtained through needs getting met. It's the same in marriage. It's the same in low level friendships. It's the same in best friendships, close intimate friendships, so on and so forth. That relational equity to be able to show that someone can manage the responsibility of being allowed to have a bigger voice in your life, to be in one of those inner circles. Um, yeah, that relational equity is built through getting needs met. To get your needs met, though, you need to express your needs so that people have healthy expectations. A lot of people expect that their friends are going to meet their needs, but they never express their needs, and so they've got these expectations of people that really aren't fair. Um, and then they get into a place where they're judging someone for not meeting their needs, but they never expressed their needs, and their friend never really even knew about that need. And you'd think, well, maybe if they should have known, and that whole they should have known thing is really not fair, and it's inauthentic because you can't read other people's minds, and you can't expect them to read your mind. So what happens is, in a journey of authenticity, you learn to be able to see yourself clearly. You learn to be able to identify your own needs and then bravely express your needs to people who are trustworthy. And as you do that, you're going to build relational equity with people. You're going to build relational equity with yourself. And the awesome piece of this whole thing is that as you actually start to develop healthy habits in this regard, you learn how to receive love from yourself. You learn how to receive love from people. You're going to start to see massive breakthrough in the way that you receive love from God. And a lot of my profound God encounters actually came from these places of this authenticity journey and this journey of loving myself well, and this journey of learning how to do interpersonal relationships really well. Last thing I'm going to say is, when you're trying to figure out who to trust, if you can't figure out whether someone is trustworthy, ask Holy Spirit, and I promise you he'll tell you whether they're trustworthy or not. Don't listen to your gut, listen to Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit is not your guts. He's Holy Spirit, and he speaks through your heart. Okay? Bless you. Thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate every single watch, every single view. I really appreciate every person that clicks subscribe, and I really appreciate every like, because every time you hit that like button, um, it means that it's easier to find my videos if you're looking. Thank you so much. Bless you.